Hello friends, welcome to this sessions of Kubernetes. In these sessions we are going to discuss about the label and selectors. Actually, this is, you can say, important topics to identify an object in the Kubernetes clusters. So in this session we are going to discuss about or going to understand why to define a labels, what is the requirement and how to define the labels. So there are several ways in which you can either you can define in a definitions file for the objects, or you can do through the commands also if it's not had been taken care by the definitions file when it's the objects builder. So how the labels help us to organize the objects, we will look into this aspect as well, and some of the tips and tricks regarding the label and selectors that may comes to you guys in the exam for the CKA certifications. So they will ask something like identify the how many objects you have in the cluster with some labels. They will provide you 2 or 3 labels, and you have to put that particular extract in a JSON using the JSON path in a particular file locations. So these types of questions they may ask you to generate a file and put it at a particular locations regarding the label and selectors. And also this session is very important about understanding of the functionality, why we use label and selectors to do some query on the basis of labels. So let's jump into the sessions. Okay, label are key value pair that are attached to objects such as pod. Any of the objects, like in the Kubernetes cluster we have several objects, you can say in the same cluster we have the objects related with the deployment environment, the staging environment, and the production environment. If we will not label our objects with some appropriate key and value, it will be very hard to identify that which objects is related with which environment. So that suppose in for a particular project, if you want to create some of the objects like pod, security, any types of objects, and after the completing you just want to destroy it, how you will destroy if the project name is not mentioned in the label, if the environment is not mentioned in the label, which type of pod it is, either it's related with the back end or the front end. So these types of things you need to define at the time of you create. So this is the very important things to label the object so that you can identify it, because sometimes in the production environment you have to play with large number of pods like 200, 500, or what about when we have 1,000 number of objects. So it's very difficult to identify the objects. So the labeling of objects is required in the Kubernetes cluster as per the project you are doing, as per the environment you are using. So this needs to be defined at the time of creations, and you have to think about how to label it so that the other user can also understand these things. So labels are intended to be used to specify the identifying attributes of the objects that are meaningful and relevant to the user. You have to provide some meaningful information that will be understandable by other users. Like if you can assign like this is the web objects and related with some projects name and the environment name in which you are deploying the objects. So these types of things always are helpful. So label can be attached to the objects at such at creations time, and subsequently add and modify at any time. You can do any means either if you miss to create a label, then you can manage it by adding a label to the objects. So any time you can add it. So it's not required that if you missed at the creations time you will not add it further. You can do it, but try to create a label at the time of the creations of the objects. So labels enable users to map their own organizational structures, such as like this particular object is created for which department, for which product, how what is the functionality of this particular objects. Either it's supporting the web front end or the back end or some kind of service or some types of secret informations it's keeping for which purpose. So you can say this will give informations to those user as well who is not aware about the labeling things, and when he filter or use the selector to fetch that particular objects on the basis of label, he can do it very easily. So these things is very important to label all the objects in the Kubernetes cluster. So there is some validations that the label should be at least not maximum than the 63 characters. It should be less, or it can be empty. If it's not empty, then it should be begin or end with with an alphanumeric character like a small a to z, 0 to 9, and a capital letter a to z. It may contain the dash, underscore, dots between the alphanumeric. So you can do the naming, you can put the naming conventions of the labels accordingly. So like I added some examples that you can add, like the environment is the dev. This is the object that I'm creating is for the environment. You can use the short form env for the and add it as a dev, or env as a qa, env as a prod. Also there is no restrictions, and there is no means there is no restrictions. You can add as many label as you can for the particular object. So you can add tier also that it's for supporting the front end or the back end, or maybe some project name. You can assign a project name. That will be very helpful, so that when you pass the selector using the selector with the project name, you have all the objects, and you can drop all the objects also at the same time using this just the project name after completing the projects in the development environment. So why I love label selector, user can identify a set of objects. The selector will be used to filter those objects on the basis of labels you defined. So we are going to look into this into the lab session, how we can define what are the others way to define the objects. If we missed, how we add it, how we do a query by using the selector in the environment. So we will see all those things in the lab sections. For like this is the example I added. We are going to be creating a one pod, and in the environment we are defining the productions. Product environment. This is the pod that created for the productions, and we are using the image. You can assign the image also, that which image we are using. So this is the app. We are using the Nginx. So all these informations, you can increase the label name as per your requirement. You can add 4 labels, 5 labels. So as much labels you have, it will give a clear pictures about the object in the Kubernetes clusters. So you can define label for the multiple objects, any kind of objects, and all the objects supports the label. And label is very important. If you will see my video of the replica sets, the matching is done on the basis of labels. On the basis of label only, the selector, the replica set identify which pod they need to manage, which pod comes into that particular replica set, so that anytime when a pod gets down, its replica set responsibility is to bring it up. So here some command for this. If you want to add a label, you just need to, in the imperative way, we just write kubectl label and the pod name. Suppose we are adding a label for a particular pod name, and we are passing the env is equal to pod. Get if we want to see all the pods with whatever the label set, you just query a kubectl get pod show label. It will show all the labels in the default namespace for the particular for all the pods. So all the pods will get listed by this query, and it will also display the whatever the labels assigned to that. We will look into all these things in our lab session. Get all objects with label. Suppose you want to fetch all the objects I'm not talking about the pod. We want to fetch all the objects in the default namespace which have the label assigned to environment is equal to pod. We can do by executing this query. So next one, the level get all. So you can use the operator also. Suppose you don't want to look into in the pod, yeah, or any of the objects. We don't have the label like environment is equal to pod. You don't want to look into that, so it will bring all the objects which don't have the environment, because this is the not operator. It will fetch all the objects which don't have environment is equal to pod. You can assign multiple labels also by using the selector. So my dash L is used for the selector. kubectl get all, it will bring all the objects. The selector that we are putting here, the environment is equal to pod, and tie is equal to web. So any of the objects which matching it, having the label of environment prod and tire web, it will bring all the objects for that. So to better understand this, we will look into the AWS console also, because in the AWS console we are using labels as a tag. So this will the graphical representations will help you to understand that how the labels or in the tag in the AWS console is used. After that, we will move into the Kubernetes Lab session to understand how the Kubernetes will work for this. Okay guys, currently I am in the AWS console, and I started 4 instance, and looking into the 4 instance, you can't identify that this particular instance is for which environment. So when you see when you want to work or you want to drop a particular instance, you don't have any types of label defined for that particular instance. So it's very difficult to identify that which instance is for which purpose. So I just using the AWS console to give you a better understanding so what is labeling is all about. So I just selected the one instance in the tag. The tag is used for the labels, and I am going to add some tags here. Like I'm putting a tag as a name, and name is the dev. Or you can say the name is a web. So I defined the name here, add additional tag like environment, development environment. So I put a tag here, I saved it. Now this particular is identified as a web. So when we click it, we can look into the tag and we identified, okay, this is the web applications, and it's used for the development. The similar way we go and set for all the remaining one. Like this is the name is db, and add another tag env, and it's a development. So this is the database for the development. Now I am going to do it in a similar way for the production. Going add manage, add tag, the name is again web, add another tag, environment is prod, save it. One other instance remain, manage the tag, add the tag, name is equal to db, and the environment is equal to prod. So you have 4 instances, and we label it properly. So when you click on this particular web, it will say you that this is used for the production environment. So you have a clear understanding. Okay, this you click on this web, it's from the development environment. So you have all the informations here. So how to filter data? Suppose we want to filter a web from the productions. How we will do that? So you have to select the environment, and here you have to pass the productions. So it will fetch all the informations web and TV. Suppose you have several instances of web available. So you just want to filter the only the web part. So you can go to the name, and here you have the web. So it will fetch only the web that is related with the productions environment. So you can see that there it will list all the informations in this way. In the similar way, you can use in the Kubernetes also you can define the labels, and do the using the selectors you can filter the things at your end. So now I'm jumping to the Kubernetes lab to have a better understanding in the Kubernetes way, how we can label the objects and how we can do a selector to filter the objects. Okay, let's monitor the environment first. QCTL get pod. So we don't have any pods. So we are going to define two pods for the development and two pods for the production environments. QCTL run web for development using the image Nginx, and another one is the DB for the development environment. So I have two pods created, but we didn't define the label. This is the development environment, and unfortunately we missed to add it. So we can do it later. QCTL get pod show labels. So you can see that this is the Kubernetes automatically add as per the name of the pod defined. So under the tab, under the run, there is a one label defined DB dev and web dev. So let's add as per our requirement. So we are going to add kubectl label pod. The pod name is DB dev, and the environment first. Environment is equal to dev, and the name is equal to DB. You can say DB, or you can add project name also. But I am taking two things. Sorry, the and is not required. You can use a space, and it's add the label. Same way we have to do it for the web also. Web development, and here the environment is development, and the name of applications is web. So if you see the show labels, you can find that for the development environments, a label is defined. Environment is equal to dev for both, and the name is one for dev DB and one for web. So let's clear the screen. This is the we did for the development, but for productions we are going to use the definitions file. So we will see how to do by using the definitions file. QCTL run. Now I'm putting the name as a web, and environment is prod, and the name of image is going to be Nginx. So it will create, but the other one I will going to create by using the definitions file. Dry run is equal to client O of YAML, but this will be a DB. And this will give you the definitions file. Just you need to copy it till here, copy it, and you have to use the Vim editor or Nano editor. So this is the you have to change the name also, that db prod. Okay, we will do it. And this is the db for prod dot yml. So let's paste it. Okay, now all the things are good. Timestamp, we don't require it, so we will going to remove it. Okay, the label name we are going to define as per our requirement. So just modify it, or you just delete it. The environment is production prod, and the mm, the name we are going to use as a db, and here also it's a db of prod. Oh, prod. Let's change the name of container as well to have a clear picture. It's a db prod. So let's save it. Okay, file has been saved. kubectl. Apply the name of file is db prod. Okay, so it's get created. Clear the screen. So again, look into the port. Just find for the source level. Okay, so for the development environment, you have two port running, one for the TP and one for, and all the levels has been marked correctly. And for the productions, you have two, but the DB have the correct level, and you don't have the level for the web. So we are going to define it again. kubectl level port name is web prod, and the label will be environment is equal to prod, and the name is equal to web. So we defined it, and again we are going to execute the show level so that we can check. Okay, all looks good. So I'm going to use the selector now to query. So I want to check all the ports that belongs to the production environment. kubectl, sorry, kubectl get port, and we are using the selector, and the environment that we are looking for the prod. So it is going to list all the ports that belongs to the production environment. If you can search for the specific web, just put a comma here, and the name will be web. So in this way, you can do a query in the cluster to get an exact pod which you want for a particular project, for a particular environment, for a particular level. So in this way, you can do it. But suppose if you want to remove a level, if you want to remove a particular environment field from a web prod, how you can do that? So currently you can see in the web prod, there is a pod named web prod, and we want to remove the environment field. How we can do that? So it's very easy. kubectl, just write the command for this. kubectl get pod, and we are going to remove the environment level from the web prod. How we can do that? kubectl level pod. The name of the pod is web prod, and you have to write the label name env and put a dash here. This will remove that particular label. So if you run the query again, you can see under the for the web prod, the label of environment prod has been deleted. So it in this way you can add, do a modifications, add in the definitions file and do update. So you in this way you can manage the label, and using the selector you can query for the required objects. Thank you for watching this video. If you like my video and the way of I am doing the labs for this, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends as well. Thank you for watching this video.